What's up, party people? What's up, everybody? I missed y'all. How are y'all doing? Listen, today is just going to be a little bit more of a short stream. It's not any of the stuff coming up. I gotta still put the slides together for that just to give a good presentation. But today, I just figured we'd do something a little fun. And so I made the new tier list for Catholic book publishers. So like, what are the best Catholic book publishers? What are the worst? And really, where do they all rank on the scale? I don't think I'll give any, like, maybe a D today. I might, just for the sake of trying to like add some variation, but I'm gonna be pretty fair, honestly. Now I'm gonna have to be a little harsh, even though when I actually buy books, I'm not that harsh and stuff like that on the publisher, just because I want to be like accurate and stuff like that and be a little bit of a critic and all that. So, hopefully that can be good. I'm going to see if I can get this camera kind of more in the middle. There we go. So I'm going to see how that all works. And, we're digging the new setup. Sorry for being a little late. I had to set up like my, camera and stuff like that. I also forgot to change the dono goal because we ended that goal. So we'll call this the favorite books goal. And we'll say that it ends, gosh, I don't even know. 09, 18, 2023. Okay. New goal. We got the new goal up for the donos if you guys want to donate anything today, but we're gonna have fun. It's gonna be really, really good. Just kind of messing around with this list, and I'll talk about like why I'm choosing to place certain like book publishers elsewhere and stuff like that. So it'll be really fun in that way. So let me see here. I can bring up the list. So I made this. It got a little cut off on some of them, so some of them I'll have to like say the name for you to say it fully and stuff like that, but it'll be good, man. It's gonna be so much fun. Might actually put a little bit of music on. Let's do the like cozy.tv background music. Oh wait, where's the cozy TV like lo-fi? I don't see it here. Cozy. Where'd the lo-fi channel go? Oh, there it is. Okay, we're chilling. Dang. Bro. They're not playing any lo-fi right now. Okay, let me pull up a different lo-fi playlist. Okay. That way so we can just kind of, chill, Monday vibes. We're chilling right now. Make sure it's fair quality. Nice. All right. So we're chilling right now. See, you guys are speaking in the chat. Cozy Lo-Fi is down last time I checked. Yeah, man, that's sad. So I just pulled open a random one just for the sake of time, stuff like that. I'm glad 16 people are watching, dude. That's awesome. But yeah, this is just kind of my like fun little list and stuff like that I wanted to do. Please let me know if the music's too loud. If the music's too loud, I'll turn it down, but I think I got it at a good rate. So we got some good choices, honestly. We've got some solid choices in terms of different Catholic book publishers. I'm excited to kind of like talk about why I'll place like each one where it's at and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, why is it at that tier? And I'll kind of explain my decision, and it'll give you guys some good recommendations for books and stuff like that. Cause I've pretty much bought from every single publisher that I'm putting a book up for, or I've like read the PDF of one of their books or whatever. So I'm familiar with each one. So, all right. What do we got first? Tan Books. So Tan Books is like a pretty good publisher, honestly. I've been like, every book from them is solid. I've never seen a book from them that was like not doctrinally sound. They are like super, super, super good in just everything they publish. I mean, most of my library I have here at my new place, but, you know, also back at my house. It's all like super solid choices, quite frankly. Like, you know, there's the Manual for Conquering Deadly Sin. There's the Tan Classic series. So it's like a bunch of like Western Rite classics of spirituality. So like, you know, you've got like Saint Bonaventure's book on Saint Francis. You've got Imitation of Christ. You've got Interior Castle. You've got Dark Night of the Soul. You've got like all these like great books and stuff like that. And like I said, solid. I've never met a Tan book that I did not like. So we're definitely going to put that on the S tier. That is an S tier book company right there. I highly recommend you buy from Tan Books if you're going to get into, you know, reading Catholic books, or you're looking for like a good company to buy from. Just a note, one company I did not put on here was Tumblr House, because they mostly resell other books. I think they make a couple of their own put out by Charles Cologne, but I think most of theirs are just resold. If I was to honestly put them on here, I would put them at S tier, but the reason I didn't is like they don't really publish much on their own. So I kind of avoid like putting repeat you know, companies and stuff like that on here, just for the sake of like, you know, kind of being fair, right? Or not repeat companies, resale companies. That's what I meant to say. So like resale companies that resell from these publishers that I put up here. Because like most of those companies might produce like a couple books of their own, but they mostly resell from these other companies. St. Paul Center. That's going to be S tier, bro. I love St. Paul Center. That's definitely going to be S tier. Angelus Press. What's anti-trad pine sap gonna put for Angelus Press? No, I'm kidding. I'm not anti-trad. That's dumb, bro. That's gay. No, honestly, I love Angelus Press. They do some really, really solid books. You know, there's a couple books, like, I mean, the Catechism on the Crisis in the Church and stuff like that, that I'd be like, yeah, it's pretty bad. But like, and like most of the Lefebvre books are not good if you're reading them for serious. If you're reading them for like research into his thought or whatever, I mean, you know, straight from the horse's mouth. But it's like, if you're reading them to support him, I would not recommend that. However, they have a lot of great books. Like, one of my favorite ones is Apologia for Tradition by Roberto de Mattei. That's like a great history book. It's actually probably one of my favorite Catholic history books. Just because it's like, it goes through various times of church crisis and shows how like the church always persevered. And what I also love about it too is Roberto de Mattei is super into getting in the details, right? So he'll like cite primary sources. Like he cited like a letter from Saint Catherine of Siena that I didn't even know like existed and stuff like that. And it was like really cool to see how she dealt with like church reform and stuff like that. So solid choice. I mean, it is you know, great book. The Roberto de Mattei books are awesome on there. But the reason I wouldn't put it at like S tier is because there are those Recognize and Resist books. There are those books that like kind of do lead people down an erroneous path. You know, like SSPX Most Commonly Asked Questions and stuff like that. That I can't support, and with the lack of canonical status that the society has in the church, that's going to definitely be a knock against it. But again, it's not a bad company, so I'm maybe going to put them at like B. I think that's fair. They're a good company. There's a lot of books I would recommend. And by the way, for anyone asking, you're not guilty of sin if you buy from Angelus Press. I don't know who ever said that, but that's retarded. Like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, I buy a ton of books from them. They publish some great books. Only reason I'm putting them at B tier is because some of their titles I would not recommend for Catholics to read. I would recommend reading those titles if you were a lot more secure in your faith and you were trying to understand like the position that the society's coming from and effectively argue against it. But most people are never going to be there because they're not theologians. So I would try to avoid the books that like are openly for the society's position, but they're history books that they reprint, and like books on like, you know, like different social encyclicals and stuff like that are amazing. Like some of the best I've ever seen. So honestly, like, even though this is B tier, it's kind of like between B and A, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's maybe a little generous to put them at A tier, but it definitely would be a crime to put them lower than B, you know? Great. Angelico Press. Angelico Press is interesting. So there's a whole article series that this very faithful Catholic did where they published some problematic stuff, and I'm gonna show you what I mean real quick. So we go to Angelico Press. So, like, you've got the catalog right here, right? And so, like, everything's fine. Blessed Anne Catherine Emmerich, great books, right? Apologetics, awesome, awesome, awesome. And then look at this. Christian esotericism. Yeah. Yeah, this is kinda weird. Like, this is like... I've heard, like, Valentin Tomberg be vindicated. Like, his books on esotericism were more to, like, do apologia from that standpoint, not so much to, like, promote it. But I'm not really comfortable with a Christian esotericism section. You know what I mean? And, like, I can't remember if it said this in the article, but I think there was even some talk about Kabbalah and, like, Rorschacharianism, or however you pronounce it. You guys know how to pronounce it in the chat, but it's like the Rorschacharians or whatever. It's like spelled here. Let me check. Crucianism. I don't know. Here, I think we can sound it out. Rosicrucianism. I don't know how to pronounce this, but yeah, there's like some ties to that in this section and stuff like that. Sussy. That's not really something up my alley, to be honest, as a faithful Catholic, you know. I don't want that. I'm not about that, right? Other good, you know, other stuff in here, great, right? There are other stuff that that's definitely worth checking out. Sorry, I was looking at this section because I had never seen that. Huh. You know, kind of looks interesting. I guess they added a new section. But yeah, I mean, they've got other great stuff like apologetics books that are really solid. I mean, like G.K. Chesterton's Everlasting Man. Who could say that's a bad book? That's an amazing book, right? I've got this one, The Scholastics and the Jews by Edmund J. Mazza. Edmund J. Mazza's a little bit more friendly than like our brother E. Michael Jones. So I'm a little but it's a good historical resource. I would definitely recommend getting this book. And then, you know, there's some other great books, even in just this section I'm looking at. But again, kind of some Matrad stuff. Archbishop Vigano, Voice in the Wilderness, you know, when he's basically saying that Pope Francis is like an anti-pope and stuff like that, I can't consciously recommend that. So, with all that, like, being considered, I think it would be fair to put Angelico Press at, like, maybe C tier, if I'm being harsh, right? I would still recommend buying from them. There's a lot of good books on there that are too bad to pass up, right? But, you know, if we're being, like, critical here, like, if we're being critical and I gotta, like, look at it from every angle, I would definitely say that it's a C tier on this list, right? Roscarianism is a syncretic religion. It's entirely separate from Christianity. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. And they try to do this, like, Christian Roscarianism or whatever it is. Catholic esotericism isn't always bad, but books like Submerged Reality go a bit too far with it and come off as a bit too new agey. Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing, like, you know, I had a good friend who hangs out in the chats. You might know him, Archos the Fourth, or Archos the Fourth. He, like, told me about Tomberg and said that, like, he wasn't trying to subvert the faith or whatever. So I get there's some nuance there. We want to be charitable, but it does kind of trend a little too far a certain way that I'm uncomfortable with. And again, I would still recommend Angelico Press to someone. I just, for the sake of this list, I'm being more critical, right? Okay. Tratty Books. So Tratty Books is actually run by a Sede Vacantis. I believe it's run by John S. Daly. And Daly, he's interesting. So he has, the only book I think he's actually ever wrote was called Michael Davies, A Critical Evaluation. And, you know, because he's a heretic, it's like, I don't agree with him. Like, for instance, he says that, like, Michael Davies suffers from, like, Newman idolatry because he likes St. John Henry Newman a bunch. I think that's a load of crap, honestly. But he does make some good points against Davies in certain things. I think about, like, obeying the ordinary magisterium and papal infallibility and stuff like that. And he defends his position very well in that book for a Sede Vacantist. And this is what I've said before. Sedes, despite being heretics, sometimes do a good job, you know, rebuking kind of the recognize and resist position, just because it's like they're familiar with the arguments and they can point out pretty good inconsistencies in that position. So, and that being said, Michael Davies, I think, was a wonderful man. You know, I'd like to think that he's in heaven with our Lord right now, quite frankly. I think he was a wonderful man. I think he rendered a lot of positive service to the church. I don't think he was bad or anything like that. I just think he had some things that he got wrong. You know what I mean? But I don't want to, you know, I don't want to besmirch him. He is a good man. And I think there's just some points that he could have been better on. You know what I mean? That being said, that's the only, like, I think, Sede book, as far as I know. The rest of the books that are printed on there are, like, old Catholic theological manuals and, like, writings from, like, older priests and stuff like that. And I'm a sucker for sites like those because, like, some of the advice you get from books like those are literally the best spiritual advice you will ever read, right? So he's got, like, I believe he has Father Edward Lean on there. He's got, like, a couple other people. He's got Louis Veillot, and the Louis Veillot book he has is called Life of Our Lord Jesus Christ. I have a reprint of it, and it's probably one of the best meditations on the Gospels I've ever had the pleasure of kind of reading excerpts from. I haven't read the full book yet. It's on my shelf, but, like, it's beautiful. And it had a personal, it was personally commended by Pius IX, so he, like, reprints that book. So, considering those facts that it's not, like, really reprinting a bunch of Sede books and stuff like that, that works in its favor. But the fact that it is kind of a Sede environment and stuff like that kind of makes me move it to C tier, right? Again, I'd still recommend it. I don't think it's, like, bad, because most of the books on there are good and are just reprints of good, faithful Catholic books. But I think that association does create a little bit of a problem, nonetheless, you know? So that's where I'd place it. I'd place it at C tier. All right. Baronius Press. I think y'all know where I'm already going to put this. It does the work on its own. Every single book on that publishing site is awesome. I mean, it's not even that, like, most of the books aren't reference works. They do have one, though, and that's Fundamentals of Catholic Dogma by Ludwig Ott. Everyone go get that. That is excellent. I mean, leather-bound books, beautiful. They've got the Catena Aurea from St. Thomas Aquinas, all 4 volumes. I mean, it's like, what more can I say? They're just a beautiful... I mean, heck, I'll even go on their site right now, honestly. I mean, like, look at this. They've got Apologetics and Catholic Doctrine. That's the book I've told y'all to order. I mean, this is probably one of the best apologetical books ever written because of, like, its breadth and scope and how much it covers. It's beautiful. And it's like a nice hardbound book. I have never been disappointed with a product that I have bought from them. They've got beautiful, beautiful Bibles. They've got the Knox translation from Father Ronald Knox. They've got, like, the Catholic sermon notes from St. John Henry Newman. As I said, the Catena Aurea from St. Thomas Aquinas. And I've got this giant Douay Rheims Latin Vulgate Bible back at home. And it's excellent. It's more of a family Bible, admittedly. So it's not something I would recommend to, like, take to school with you or something like that, or, like, if you travel around a lot. You know, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it then, but it's good. It's very, very, very good. I mean, this publisher is solid. I actually credit them with getting people back into kind of a lesser known figure, who I honestly think could probably be canonized one day. And that's, oh, sorry, not Father Gabriel. Father Gabriel's pretty good too. I'm trying to, he wrote the book, Dom Eugene Boylan. That's right. Dom Eugene Boylan. So if you went to SOCA, you know that like, Souls of the Christian Apostolate, they're a big promoter of his works. He was an excellent priest. I mean, you know, he's got difficulties in mental prayer, This Tremendous Lover. And they're just like great books for mental prayer. I mean, especially this one, because it just kind of helps you, you know, get over those blocks in mental prayer and stuff like that. And he writes with a real love and affection for our Lord. So, I mean, it's like, what more does Baronius Press have to prove? Like, they are a beautiful, high-quality Catholic book publisher. The only drawback is, because of that, it's a little bit more pricey if you're on a budget, but it's worth it. I've never been disappointed with any books they've given me. So, I think it's a solid choice, either way. So that's them. Definitely S tier. Catholic Answers Press. So that's kind of an interesting one. I would say I'm tempted to put them at A tier or S tier. Maybe A tier just for the sake of like S tier is like blowing me away, right? And it's not that the Catholic Answers books don't blow me away. It's just, you know, again, we're being critical, right? We're being picky. But Catholic Answers Press, it's like you can't go wrong with them. Like, especially if you're new to the faith, a lot of their books are really good at, you know, kind of giving that like introductory, you know, step into learning about the faith and stuff like that. You know, a lot of great, very early apologetics books and stuff like that. You know, it's pretty good at like getting your foot kind of in the door. And so that's why I would say it's A tier. I don't know why Jackson says it'd be B tier. I disagree. I think I think they make really high quality books. And again, I know some people, you know, might be like, oh, well, pop apologetics are lame. But look, that's kind of how people learn, right? Like, most people are not going to have time. I'm just going to be real. I love manualism. I love the manuals. I love them to death. Not, like, this is not even a slight against manualism. Most people aren't going to read theological manuals. Let's just be real, right? Most people are not going to open up, like, a 700-page Father Garrigou Lagrange, you know, manual on, you know, some theological topic and stuff like that. Just because of the fact that it's like, it's kind of, you know, it's a big task for people. It's nothing against the manuals. The manuals are amazing. Just most people aren't inclined in that way when they're reading about theology. So you got to start them with the small stuff. And actually, now that Jackson kind of mentioned it, I'm maybe feeling a little bit more B tier. Not for any reason. I think it's just that it's kind of your first introduction. So, like, you get some really good books from Catholic Answers that I think would be hard to pass up. Okay, so, also, Dominique Cain's Anna's Archive. Dude, people keep mentioning that. What is that? Is that, like, a website or something? You gotta send that to me, because people keep, like, throwing that out. Like, Christian Wagner threw it out the other day, and I never got the link for it. So, it's like, if it's, like, a book sharing website or something, I'd love to check it out. That's true. That's true. Yeah, Jackson said in chat, like, it's that they're kind of introductory books, so that's why he'd put them at B tier. You know, it's not like spiritual classics or something like that. I think that's actually a fair point. We need to have a comprehensive view of this list in that way. Not just by, like, oh, I'm going to move you lower on the list because, like, this author might have some, you know, thing against them or whatever, but, you know, also just from the standpoint of, like, where you're at in your spiritual life and just considerations of, like, you know, blow me away factor, right? Like, oh man, this is an awesome, you know, list or whatever. Carlo Bussard is awesome. He's a really good Brossard is a good apologist. I really like his apologetics. He's really good at kind of introducing anti-atheist arguments if you're starting out with that. I got to read more of his stuff. And then American Crusade says you have to have a certain tism to be into manuals. That is very true, man. That is very true. And again, that was not a slight against manualism. I love manuals. And I kind of hate, honestly, when people are like, prior to, there was a big problem with manualism in the church that kind of changed after Vatican II. It's like, manualism's not bad, dude. Manualism is awesome. And it's actually how I've been able to like answer questions from people and stuff like that in a very succinct way. I mean, especially with my work on ecclesiology, like manuals have helped me more than anything else, because it's like, it's question answer, or not so much question answer. It's the, it uses that scholastic reasoning, right? So you've got kind of your claim being made, counterclaim, where does the evidence, point to, and what is the established fact? And that's how you get it, right? That's how you get to truth. And so I think it's really solid in that way. And that's why manuals are solid. Catholic University of America Press. So CUA, that's a good question. I'm feeling B tier with them. Not for any bad reason, just like a lot of its reference works, and it's kind of like works. Now they do reprint like older books and stuff like that are really good. And they also have this great series, if you guys can check it out. It's called Readings from the Fathers of the Church. It's basically like little quote books from like the church fathers. So you go in there and it'll be separated by topic, like either on the 7 deadly sins or the Holy Mass or like heaven and hell and purgatory and all that. And you go in by topic and then read what that church father said. And it's a very nice like nugget of wisdom. So I think CAU is pretty solid, honestly. There's no reason that like, no particular reason I can think of that they wouldn't be A or S tier, or A or S tier. I think it's just because like, there's not that blowaway factor. They're more like a publishing house for the university. And so it might be maybe a little less inaccessible to you if you're not super into theology. So, but CUA is pretty solid, honestly. Definitely at B tier. I'd say with Angelus Press too, same thing, kind of between A and B. Very solid. Aruca Press. S tier. Straight up, bro. I'm not even kidding. Like, Aruca Press is amazing because every book they reprint is incredible. I have so many books from them. I've never regretted a purchase from them. Let me give you an example. So, like, if we go to their site, founded in 2018 to revitalize intellectual and spiritual life of Catholics in the modern world. So they reprint like a ton of old great books. And I mean, look at what they've got. They've got Love and Social Justice, Reflections on Society by Blessed Cardinal Stefan Wyszynski, right? Blessed Cardinal Wyszynski. I mean, this book is incredible. I was opening it up and he was talking about like peace in society and kind of why the church, rejects ideologies all the way from, National Socialism to communism and liberalism, and why, the social kingship of Christ is so integral to the health of a society. And he's writing this all in kind of the backdrop of World War II and the later communist takeover. So it's a wonderful kind of reflection. If you are ready for, or rather to be inundated with just like the best sermons you have ever heard and the best letters you have ever heard, you got to get this book. Either Catholicism or Liberalism by St. Ezequiel Moreno y Diaz. It is so incredible. I mean, he was a champion of the church, and like the way that he writes is so forceful. I remember in his dying will, he said, when I die, I want a sign hung on my coffin, basically, on the end of my coffin that says, or in front of it, that says, liberalism is a sin. I mean, this is the best of Catholic social teaching right here. And he talks about the social kingship of Christ in just like an unbridled, masculine, soldier-like way. And I mean, it's like books like this that make Aruca Press really an S-tier company. I've never been disappointed with them. They've got some really good fiction books. I'm not much of a fiction reader, but if you are, you're gonna find some great stuff here. And then they've been reprinting even some newer authors, like they just reprinted Dr. John Joy's book on the ordinary and extraordinary magisterium. Let me actually see if I can find that real quick for y'all. Yeah. So this book, if you want to understand the magisterium, this is the book. On the Ordinary and Extraordinary Magisterium by Dr. John Joy. This is the second edition, so he has actually updated it. And it's excellent. He goes through, kind of all the views of the different authorities on the Ordinary and Extraordinary Magisterium, like Cardinal Franzelin, Cardinal Louis Bayot, Father Joseph Klutgen, who wrote essentially about this topic around the time of Vatican I, where this was really a topic that they were exploring and thinking about and thinking through. It's a great way to understand how the magisterium actually functions and works in the life of the church. So, I mean, again, dude, it's like with books like these, Aruca Press clearly has earned the S tier. They are too good. They are just too good, man. Franciscan Media. I'll be honest, I haven't really bought, I think as far as I know, any books from them. And when I look at it, they are definitely like a C or a D tier. The reason I say that is it's not that like a ton of their books contain error or whatever, but they do have some problematic authors on their site. So, I mean, for one, they publish like Father Daniel Horan, who, if you guys don't know, he's like probably one of the most liberal Franciscans to date. I mean, totally supports transgenderism and stuff like that. Homosexuality, you bet it. Like, he is all on that train. They are like printing Father Richard Rohr books and stuff like that, and that's not something I can get behind, frankly. That being said, of course, you can find some gems on there. I think they've got like a book on like the early church and stuff like that that's worth checking out. I think they've got some other Franciscan books written by very orthodox writers that are worth checking out. But the problematic association, honestly, I'd probably put them at a little bit of D tier. I think they'll be our first D tier for it. Again, you can still find some good ones on there, but it's kind of shaky. Let's see here. IHS Press. IHS Press is amazing. Straight up. I mean, they reprint books by a ton of distributists. So, like Father Vincent McNabb. They've reprinted the one from... I'm trying to remember what his name was. I actually can probably look it up real quick. Very old website, but you can buy their books from Loretto Press and stuff like that. They still publish them. Yeah, they've got stuff by John Sr. They were the same people who printed the 2 copies of Neocond, so Neocond 1 and 2. I mean, that's Dr. E. Michael Jones, right? And that's totally Paleocon 101 stuff against the Iraq War and against Zionism and Jewish control and stuff like that. So I mean, it's pretty solid, honestly. Arthur Penty, I think, was an Anglican, so they've got a book by him on here, but he wrote some pretty good stuff on distributism. If you go to their title their titles, you've got some really, really, really good stuff like Action by Jean Ausset. Jean Ausset was a just behemoth of Catholic social thought. And this book is like the manual for being like a Catholic man in our society. He basically writes about how you should organize Catholic action parties, what you should do to substantially work for a Catholic society in our society, the challenges of it, what's the vision, what's the teaching. And he was a faithful and loyal son of the church. When he wrote this manual, I believe it was actually under the pontificate of St. John the 23rd. So you're going to see a lot of stuff from St. John the 23rd and beforehand due to the time in which it was written. Because he died, I think, in the 1970s, if I'm not mistaken. But, I mean, great French Catholic thinker, needless to say. You got Hilaire Belloc. Can't go wrong with that. You've got, oh man, sorry, I'm horrible with the names today. Amintore Fanfani. I believe he was part of the Christian Democrat Party in Italy, and they reprinted his book on like a Catholic view of the economy compared to like Protestantism and stuff like that. I think it takes pretty good dubs against Protestantism because it basically says how it's created like the free market nightmare that we're living in right now. And it looks like they've actually put up some new books that I did not see before, like this guy right here, Daniel Maddox. I gotta look that up. Looks pretty good actually. But yeah, I mean, like Father Vincent McNabb, as I said before, they've got, you know, no frickin' way they posted that. Let's fucking go. That's so awesome. The Church of Turning Points of History. Godfrey Kurth, I believe, was actually a Belgian Catholic politician, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, he was a Christian Democrat and gave a Catholic history of the formation of modern Europe. And this book is cool because it's similar kind of like to how civil society has posed like a lot of crises and stuff like that, but yet the church has always prevailed. This is a really good white pill book, basically. If you're ever down about like the times we live in and the, you know, kind of era we live in and stuff like that, give this book a read. It's very solid. And you just got like a lot of like great ones on here. I mean, sorry, I'm looking at them right now because, like I said, they've posted some that I did not see before. So that's great, man. I mean, that's so solid. Shoot, man, I definitely want to get this bad boy. Yeah, where can I get this one, dude? I've been waiting for this one. This one definitely, this is a book that I've been like waiting for forever. I'm gonna see if like if it's sold on Amazon right now. Shoot, I might have to get that. That might be a little treat for today, bro. But I mean, dude, it's awesome. Like, it's so good, and I'm really thankful for just, you know, everything that they've published. And oh yes, Father Heinrich Pesch, right? Pesch influenced, I believe, Quadragesimo Anno. He was a German Catholic priest. That was the other priest I was trying to remember that they published. But yeah, I mean, needless to say, you can't go wrong with everything on here. It's great, right? It's such a solid, you know, I mean, it's just such a solid, like, list, honestly. So I'm down with it, man. I love IHS. Definitely deserves an S tier spot. Paulist Press. Probably D or C, and probably honestly D. So here's the thing with Paulist Press, okay? They're very liberal. And they have like a lot of good books. Well, a lot stretching it. They've got some good books, right? For instance, they've got this great book on like, it's basically Catholic Orthodox ecumenism when it comes to the view of the papacy. And it's a really good book because the reason why is, you know, you can kind of get a feel for what the Orthodox view is of the papacy and them even kind of admitting the Petrine claims. And it's always a good reference work because like when they admit like, okay, this is a very clear, like, you know, view of the papacy here and stuff like that. It's very solid, right? You know, so you know you could use that in like a debate to basically show like the papal office is real and its prerogatives are real, right? But I mean, yeah, like a lot of their writers, like Father Gerald Collins, literally wrote a book on like why dogma is not possible in the 21st century, and it's like I'm not a fan of that. So, you know, D tier, and they even had some guy who like works for New Ways Ministry, which is like a pro-gay lobby, publish a book on their site. Not a fan. What does save them actually, and actually I this is going to make me move them to C tier. They do publish the like collected works of different saints. And actually I'm changing my mind. I'm going to keep them at D tier, but I will say this. So they've like published like, it's like a book full of like Saint Clare and Saint Francis's writings, right? Or like Saint Augustine's writings and stuff like that. And they're really good introductory books if you have a particular patron saint that they publish. They're really good introductory books to their writings, right? So they've got some church fathers works that are really excellent. They've got a great copy of like Sophia by Saint Hildegard of Bingen, Hildegard, I believe, Hildegard. I'm trying to remember, but yeah, they've got a great copy of that. And that way they're solid, right? I can't complain. But yeah, just the liberal theologians that they allow on and stuff like that. I mean, they've got a book on Vatican II there that like is probably the worst book you could ever read on the Second Vatican Council, because it's not even accurate. It's just like, I mean, like the sister who wrote it quite literally said that like Vatican II taught like to follow your conscience, even to the point of like disobeying church teaching. And I'm like, that's not what the Second Vatican Council taught. Like, she makes all these unsubstantiated claims in the book, and it's like, it's bad. It's like the worst of Catholic liberalism. Well, that's an oxymoron. It's the worst of liberal theology, right? That can't even deserve to be called itself Catholic. So D tier. Again, there's some good titles, like the Church Fathers and like the writings from the saints. But if you're not getting those, I'd be hard-pressed to really recommend anything else from them. Keep the Faith Publishing. Keep the Faith Publishing doesn't do a whole lot. They mostly focus, it's mostly Father Kenneth Baker writing or republishing the works of, well, he translated them and then led to them getting republished. The works of St. Robert Bellarmine and a lot of the series of manuals that were used in Spain in like all the seminaries. And that's where we get like the famous like church ecclesiology manual from Salaverry, right? Father Joaquim Salaverry's church manual. And that's one of the best manuals you can buy, right? On that given topic. The other manuals are fantastic too, but since I'm a big ecclesiology buff, I can't recommend his manual highly enough. So even though they don't do a whole lot and don't publish a whole lot, they're pretty dang good. And honestly, I'll put them at A. I think that's fair. I think the only drawback is they don't publish a ton of books, but like the ones that they do are solid and excellent, right? So to be fair, since we're being the critic, I'll put them at A, right? Just because of the lack of books they publish. So Catholic Book Publishing, that's a classic company. And they reprint like a ton of different stuff. So they reprint like Lives of the Saints stuff. And like I've got a book here from them that's like about like the Saints day by day. And all their books look like they're straight from the 1960s, 1950s. Very beautiful. Honestly, it's a great company to buy from for like First Communion. You know, like if your friend's being confirmed in the church or something, you can find a ton of great gifts from them and stuff like that. They're solid, man. I love them. So it definitely feels like an A tier company. I mean, you can't go wrong with anything that they publish. There's a book called Defending Constantine. Okay, I gotta check this out. Shoot, man, that sounds good. I love St. Constantine, so thank you. I will definitely check that out. Yeah, another one to put on the list. But yeah, I mean, solid Catholic book publishing is a solid company just for like, especially First Communion gifts and stuff like that. Like if you've got like a niece or a nephew or a son or a daughter or whatever, or maybe a friend who's coming to the church, you can find some excellent gifts from them. Like even like smaller Bibles and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, Jackson said in the chat, the new St. Joseph Sunday Missal is published by them. So it's solid. Scepter Publishing. Scepter is giving me A tier vibes too. Again, not because really there's any drawback. They just seem like a solid A company. That's basically the company that's Opus Dei's publishing house. And I've never gotten, like I said, another company, I've never gotten a bad book from them. They write a lot of modern, they've got a lot of great modern spiritual works. They've got a lot of classic ones from like newer saints, so like St. John Paul II. They've got one from, there was this Opus Dei bishop that was canonized. I think his name was Blessed Alvaro, but they've got his work. St. Jose Maria's works, I've got them on my shelf right there. And what's cool is the way they publish their books, they actually publish like mini books. So it's literally like pocket size. Like, check this out. Like, that small, right? So you could put this in your backpack, you could take it to school, and it's just like the Forge by St. Jose Maria, right? And you could bring this to school with you, have this be like kind of your saint work that you read, like in between classes or something, or like if you're at work or wherever you need it, right? And it's like really solid because of that. So honestly, it's like they're a solid A tier company. I just didn't put them on S because like S has got to blow me away, but like pretty solid, honestly, I gotta say. Let's see here. Menucha Publishing. I don't know what Menucha Publishing is. Is that some... Bro! This man just trolled me. This man literally just sent me to Rabbis and Nuns. This homie just sent me a Jewish publisher. Man, guys, this is solid. Let's check it out. Biography. Guys, honestly, 10 out of 10. No, I'm kidding. Get it out of here. We don't want that. We don't need that. We're looking at Catholic companies right now. Bro, yeah, no. This man's trolling me, bro. Jackson, you troll, dude. You're just such a troll. Okay, Loyola Press. Loyola Press kind of is the same thing. I mean, it's like, it's Jesuit, so, you know, it's like, what do you do with that? You know what I mean? You know, I don't know of any explicit books that are like super liberal. They don't honestly print like a ton, right? Their catalog's not that big, but it kind of gives you a little bit of those vibes. So, you know, honestly, because it's Jesuit, I'm probably going to put it at D tier. I don't have any books from them, but I don't think they're like heterodox in most of what they publish and stuff like that. I think they're fine, you know? Who the heck is Roma in the chat about a SpongeBob meme? For not giving proper... Dude, I don't know who you are, bro. Like, niggas get blocked and then think it's like I have some personal vendetta against them, bro. I don't know who you are. If you want to put your ad in the chat, I can unblock you from Twitter or whatever. You don't need to get all mad about it and stuff like that. I don't know. And maybe you said something that was like weird or whatever, and that's why I blocked. I generally don't block people. Maybe I just did it by accident, dude. Calm down a little bit. You know, don't get so angry, bro. Let's see. Yeah, pocketbooks are a really cool American Crusade. I'm definitely for them because it's just nice to transport. It's nice to put it in your nice to put it in your pocket or your backpack and just have that, like, you know, just kind of be solid and stuff like that, like as you're going through the day. Okay, so yeah, Loretto Publishing. Loretto is solid. Loretto's got some really good books. I love Loretto Publishing. The only drawback is kind of similar to Angelus Press. They made this book, for instance, called like A Catechism of Errors, and it's like an indictment of like the catechism to claim like there's modernist elements in the catechism of the Catholic Church, and it's of course BS. But it's like books like that, it's like I can't recommend that, right? But it's like they've got so many other good books that it's like it's really hard to pass them up. They are like a solid company in that way. And so I'm definitely thinking B tier. It's kind of similar to Angelus Press. It's like they've got so much that's worth buying that it's like if you passed them up it would be criminal, right? But, you know, they've got a couple books that it's like I couldn't in conscious really recommend going out and getting. So I'm trying to think here. Mediatrics Press, Ryan Grant's publishing house. A tier, definitely. He's translating works from St. Robert Bellarmine and like a bunch of like Latin works and stuff like that have only been now translated into English for the first time. I mean, it's like a solid company, right? And he's doing so much good translation work. I have been begging him to translate the works of Cardinal Billiot on like the church, because he's got like these works on the church, on a church ecclesiology, that are only in French and Latin. And also the Summa de Ecclesia, by the Summa on the Church by Juan of Torquemada, John of Torquemada. I will give him any amount of money to do that, because it is so solid. Like, I love it so much, honestly. And it like, that's a company that stands out. So definitely go and support him. And especially right now, man, his I believe he's had a lot of loss in his family, dude. I think his daughter passed away, and his wife did too. And he really does not deserve anything that he's been going through. So please go support our brother. He's doing some great work, and he's really forwarding the kingdom of God. I'm trying to think. Let's see here. Justie Press. They're actually kind of a newer publisher, and my only criticism would be they've got kind of some Kwasniewski books, like one indicting like Pope Francis of heresy and stuff like that, which is ridiculous. But again, another company that does so much right that it's like it'd be like asinine to pass them up. And honestly, they're so high quality and their books really stand out. They definitely are an A tier choice. I really love their books. My favorite book that I've gotten from them is actually Dr. John Joy's Disputed Questions on Papal Infallibility. That is a great book if you want to understand the doctrine of papal infallibility in the church. It's very easily accessible, and it's like you're not having to really like, you know, do backflips to try and think about everything. You know, it's very, very, very accessible. So honestly, solid company. Let's see here. Our Sunday Visitor does a lot of good books, and I mean, they're a solid publisher. They've been around forever, and they've always been publishing super faithful Catholic books. I'm trying to think what I've got on my shelf from them. Okay, I've got the book on defending Catholic sexual ethics. That's a really good one. I've got kind of a couple other ones from them that are really solid, like Understanding the Bible by Father Jeffrey Kirby. Honestly, I'm just feeling B tier with them, not because of any bad reason. Just they're kind of similar almost to Catholic Answers Press, like a lot of like introductory books and stuff like that. So they're very solid in that way, I would say, you know. Yeah, I've got Lit Press on there. We'll get to them. Oh wait, did I not? Shoot, dude, I did not get Liturgical Press. I can talk about Liturgical Press. I totally forgot to put them on there. Liturgical Press. So here's what I'll say about them. Who's calling me right now? Here's what I'll say about them. So Liturgical Press, they're kind of similar to Paulist Press, where it's like they've got some really, really solid books. Like their Cistercian publications, where they like reprint the works of Saint Bernard of Clairvaux, are awesome and stuff like that. I would put them probably at C tier. They do a lot of good, and they don't struggle with as much liberalism as like Paulist or Loyola, but they do also get away with some books that are kind of like kind of iffy and problematic, right? So I would put them at C tier. I forgot to rip the thing for them. Also, Ligouri Press, by the Redemptionists, is a solid B. I also forgot to put them on here, but Ligouri Press is awesome. I've got their book on scrupulosity from them, but they've also got just a lot of great introductory Catholic books that place them with like the likes of Catholic Answers and Our Sunday Visitor. Perugia Media, I'd say solid B. Again, kind of another like introductory company and stuff like that. You know, if you're kind of getting into like Catholic book buying and reading and stuff like that, very solid choices, very orthodox. You know, you can't go wrong with them, quite frankly. They're a great company. Penguin Random House. Yikes. I'm trying to actually think with this one. I'm tempted to maybe kind of go C tier with them. They reprint a lot of good Catholic books. Like, they reprint like a ton of the works of Father John Hardon, and I've even got like my catechism is from them and stuff like that. But they also kind of like reprint some books that aren't as great and stuff like that, and they're not primarily a Catholic publishing company, but they've got some solid choices. They've actually done a series where they have reprinted some classics of Catholic spirituality. So they've got like The Unknowing Cloud, Augustine's Confessions. They've got a copy of Models of the Church by Cardinal Avery Dulles. Those are really solid titles, really solid choices. So definitely C tier, I would say. Ave Maria Press, C tier. The only reason why I put them at C is they've got a couple books that are a little cringe. Like, they've got this one by Eve Touchette called Gay and Catholic, and it's like, it defends, like, she doesn't say that the church's teaching is wrong, and she like affirms it, but she's like, she still has like a lot of problematic language of like, I need to live out my sexuality but in this healthy way and stuff like that. Yeah, no. Not cool with that, right? So it's like that book. And then I saw some other guy who is like writing this book on unity in the church, and like the description of the book literally said like how like liberal professors can unite with young Orthodox Catholics. I'm like, unity has to dwell on truth. There can't be unity between truth and falsehood. That doesn't make any sense. So it's like, for like kind of titles like that, I'm just like not really a fan. But then it's like at the same time, they're also like printing books from like really solid people, like Patrick Madrid, right? And like their church history series that they have on there is excellent and solid, and I would highly recommend it, especially if you're getting into Catholic church history. So that's where I'd say where I'd place them at. Our Lady of Victory Press. So this is Timothy Flanders' publishing house. Pretty solid, pretty dang good. I definitely put him at A tier. He's got some good books on there. He's got like one that's like a meta view of history, and it's I can't remember what it's called. I actually could probably look it up. Our Lady of Victory Press. So Kennedy Hall, despite me disagreeing with him on the SSPX, he's got a pretty good book on manhood in there. That's really solid. I think it's definitely worth checking out. I think I need to go to Catholic site. Okay. Sorry guys, this is loading. How are y'all doing today, by the way? Today's pretty solid, honestly. I'm like Jay chilling right now, honestly. Oh man, will this site load? Yeah, so Our Lady of Victory. So they don't have a whole lot of books, which is kind of why I think it's fair to put them with like Keep the Faith. But like they've got an Introduction to the Holy Bible for traditional Catholics. That's a really solid book. Matthew Pleece has written, I think, like 2 books. So one's like about like a guide to fasting abstinence. They've got Jeremiah's book that he wrote about his daughter and stuff like that. That's very solid. Go support that and stuff like that. I know, unfortunately, me and him are not on solid terms. I wish that would change, but he's the one who decided to end our friendship. So I don't have anything to say. I wasn't the one at fault. But still go support his work. I mean, because that he went through a lot. He and his family went through a lot with that story, and please pray for them. And that's a tough thing to lose your daughter and stuff like that. No one is deserving of that ever. Especially not him. He's a good-hearted guy. So Kennedy Hall has Lockdown with the Devil. I don't know what that book is about, but I think that one's pretty okay. And then City of God versus City of Man. This is probably one of the best books that they have. This is like a meta history of the entire world and shows like the church overcoming like the devil in the world and stuff like that. This is a solid choice. It's got a lot of good reviews and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure Eric Ybarra actually gave it a really positive review too. So our buddy Eric gave it a solid review. It's good, man. And I've read some excerpts from it. It's pretty solid. So yeah, I think solid A. Cluny Media. A tier or S tier, S tier, S tier. Cluny is amazing, dude. I have an entire section of my library that is just Cluny books. They reprint a bunch of old out of print Catholic books, and every single one they reprint is like worth reading. They've got so many good manuals. They've got so many good church history books, and I'm always excited to see whatever new things they put out. I actually emailed the guy, like their customer service line to see if they could reprint a book, like a Catholic political book that was reprinted or made by like Notre Dame in like 1948. That's like a really solid one. It's got like a lot of like firsthand speeches and writings from like Catholics kind of in the 1848 era and stuff like that. So like kind of middle of the 19th century. And it's a beautiful book. It's called Catholic Political Thought from like something to, I think it's like 1808 to 1848. And it's a really good book. And I emailed them about hopefully reprinting that. But solid choices at Cluny. You can't go wrong. You got Fulton Sheen. You've got Benedict XVI. You've got like just a lot of very, very, very faithful people on there, right? And I mean, you can trust every single book that they publish. They don't publish a single bad book on there. Sophia Institute Press. Honestly, there's no reason that it shouldn't be S tier, but I just feel like it's a solid A choice. Honestly, they're just a good publisher. Like, great books. They're coming out with a lot of great stuff. I can't wait for their book on how the saints deal with crisis in the church. I think that's going to be a very, very good spiritual work to read, especially in this time. And I think it's a great publishing house in terms of just everything that they offer. One of the books I highly recommend that you get from them is the Manual on Moral Theology by Dominic M. Prumer. Father Prumer put out this excellent moral theology manual that just like is able to go into probably every question you could have about like moral theology and stuff like that. Really helps with confession, really helps with scrupulosity to just know like, okay, I can trust this is like solid advice. So definitely check that out. They do some great stuff at Sophia. The St. Paul Center. So this is MS Academic, MS Road Publishing, it basically Scott Hahn's whole venture, and S tier. I mean, guys, I'm not kidding. They've been publishing some of the best apologetical works, I think, to date. They've got Eric Ybarra's Papacy book. They've got a book, Defending the Filioque by Father Thomas Crean. They've got a really good book about how the Roman school around the time of Vatican I was extremely patristic and was well versed in the church fathers. So, you could defend Vatican I and the fathers of Vatican I as somehow, being very rooted in patristics and not, introducing any novelties in the faith and stuff like that. Solid choice. I cannot more highly commend like the work that they do at the St. Paul Center. It's just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful publishing house. I really, really love it. And they also have the Summa, so they win by default. So, yeah, they got the Summa, right? Ignatius Press. I feel like Ignatius just does so much right. But honestly, I think they're just a solid A choice, And like, A is not, like, bad. Like, A is, like, solid. Like, it might as well... Like, these two might as well be fused. But I think that Ignatius Press is just a solid A choice. They've been doing some great Catholic book publishing. Really good books in apologetics, really good books, especially addressing like Catholics' kind of position in the modern world and stuff like that. And any of the newest priests and authors you can think about are publishing at Ignatius. So go check them out. The book that they recently came out with that I cannot more highly recommend to all of you is George Weigel's book on Vatican II. Honestly, as you guys know, I've read a lot of books on Vatican II, and I gotta say, it is by far like an S tier book for Vatican II. I mean, it is a great commentary. He is very orthodox. Goes in it's also great history of the council too, and he just gets into it. And the way that he presents it is very beautiful, and I think it's going to just help so many souls. So solid A tier company. I mean, they're doing God's work over there. Word on Fire. Now that's an interesting one. I don't know whether to put them at S or A. I mean, honestly, just with how much I've heard people talk about them and stuff like that, Word on Fire's pretty solid, honestly. So I would put them at S. I mean, just everything that they're doing, the work that Bishop Robert Barron's doing, the academic works that they have coming out. Like, they had a really good book on Newman's Development of Doctrine by Dr. Matthew Levering, and he talks about, like, he dispels basically the rumors about development of doctrine and shows like Newman's ideas of like how, you know, essentially you know, accretions or novelties do not pertain to DOD, right? It's a solid defensive development of doctrine. It's a great book. And I mean, it's just such an entertaining work to read, frankly. And the Word on Fire Bible is excellent, you know? So maybe more A tier. I think I'd agree with Jackson in that. Gracewing. Gracewing's a lesser known company, but I've bought quite a bit from them. They've been pretty solid, honestly. And you know, they don't maybe stand out, but like if you get anything from them, you're not going to be disappointed. I'd say solid B tier. Not a whole lot to say, but they're a good company, you know. I think that they're very solid. I think that they're like a pretty faithful Orthodox Catholic company. Can't go wrong with them, right? And then finally, honestly, another company I'd maybe put at B, this is a B, is St. Paul Publishing. I think it's St. Paul's Publishing or something like that. I think they're an Australian company, but they publish a ton of good books, a lot of good church history books. Very, very, very similar to Our Sunday Visitor. It's almost like they're like sister companies or something. And I mean, great works. I'm trying to buy a reference work from them that's pretty expensive, so I'm gonna have to save my pennies for that, but I think it'll be good. I'm really excited for that. So needless to say, that's our list, everybody. I think this is a solid list. Like I said, B and above, you know, you can buy from these companies with just, you know, little to no thought. Like you're gonna get good books from these companies. C, you got to be a little bit more careful, but like they offer pretty good books. D, it's like, come to me. Like basically, if you're gonna buy from any company in the D tier, come talk to me in like the chat or like on Insta or whatever, and be like, yo, Pine Sap, is this a solid like company and stuff like that? Just because it's like they offer some things that are good, but it's like, you know, they have so many like problematic works, I can't like outright recommend them right out of the gate. You know what I mean? So that's our list, everybody. And I'll end the stream here shortly, but we can just talk for a bit. If you guys have super chats or anything like that, or just questions in the chat, post them right now and let's just talk. I'm just chilling right now. So which reference work for St. Paul Publishing were you looking for? So it's called The Christian Faith. It's called The Christian Faith Doctrinal Documents of the Catholic Church. And I wanted to get their newest edition, which is like the it's like the 8th edition, I think, and it's like $85. So it's really expensive, but like if I got that, it would be like solid. It'd be like having like Denzinger or something. I really want to get that one. But it's kind of a pricier work. Definitely worth getting though. It's a solid reference work. And you can't go wrong with it, quite frankly. So, you know, it's like you're Jay chillin'. But if y'all have any questions, post them in the chat right now. Cause I'd love to answer any questions y'all have. Because like I said, today it's kind of a shorter episode. I'm, oh, St. Paul Publishing. Okay, I will post that in the chat. Here, Jackson, you can see, bro. Yeah, this is the work. Posted in the chat right now. But yeah, it's a solid book. I was gonna see that other book that I wanted to consider getting, whatever that little sucker is. Oh no, wait, it was entitled. That's right. Let's frickin' go. We're so back. New by author. That's right. Let's see. When's your next Insta Live? Probably not for a while, honestly. Just because like I don't have any particular like thing planned for it. You know, but I'll definitely see about doing one soon, you know. I mean, why not, right? I was gonna see Loretto Publications. Oh no. Huh. Reminded people, there's no point in getting books if you don't read them. That's very true. Yeah, because I mean, a lot of people will get books, but then never like read them and never, you know, never really cherish what it means to like have that book and stuff like that. So, you know, you totally negate just having it like, you know, get dust on your shelf. And I'm very guilty of that. I do that like all the time. Just because I'm like, I'm super into getting books. I love getting books and stuff like that. I love, you know, reading new ones and stuff like that. So, you know, I'm a little bit of an addict in that way. But yeah, man, I was just trying to see if I could get that Somerville book, but it looks like it's not for sale yet. I guess they're maybe coming out with it. That's okay though. What Bible do I recommend? So kind of depends what you're looking for. I mean, solid like traditional choice, Douay Rheims. Douay Rheims is solid. But if you're not super into like the Old English, I would say at that point, see about getting at that point, probably a, man, I'm trying to think, probably an RSVCE version 2, Revised Standard Version, Catholic Edition, version 2, and you can get a really solid RSV Catholic Edition Bible from Ignatius Press. That's the one I would recommend for most people if they're not super into reading Old English. Let's go. Let's flip and go. We're so back. Basically, we're back, guys. That's just what I'm saying right now. Y'all are quiet in the chat today, bro. What's going on? Tell me what's going on. You can just say anything. Like, it doesn't even have to be relevant to books or whatever. You can ask any question. Hopefully, I can answer all of them, you know? Any recommendations for books on the Trinity? Oh, gosh. That's, Trinitarian theology is like something I'm not an expert in at all. I think Father Thomas White might have published a book on the Trinity that's worth checking out. I'd say probably go check out his book. I know probably Father Garrigou Lagrange also did something with a book on the Trinity, so I would also check that out too. Any of the manuals, though, it's like you can pretty much trust any of the manuals to be solid in that way. You know what I mean? Like, if you go to any of the old manuals that talk about the Trinity, you're solid, you're set. Goofy, silly even. Yeah, that's true, man. Best English Bible translation. That's what I already said, bro. I already said. I always lurk. Well, you know, that's what you that's what makes you a silly little guy, bro. That's what I'm saying, you know? Huh. I didn't know Ronald Knox had the mystical body in its head. Ronald Knox. Oh, it's Robert Hugh Benson. Okay. Robert Hugh Benson. Let's flip and go. Oh, it's kind of like a shorter book. That's cool. That's awesome. We J chillin', you know. Watching 20 with 13 likes, shame. I know, these guys ain't liking the video right now. I'm angry, bro. No, I'm kidding. I don't care about the money. That's fine. Good evening, Mr. Sapp. Any Catholic picture book Bibles for us Sigma illiterate chads? That's a good question. Let's see if there's any Catholic Bible with pictures. Man. I don't know of any, to be honest. Because there's like some newer Bibles, but I don't know if there's like any like RSV or Douay Rheims with pictures that are animated, or not animated, not animated, but have pictures in them. Maybe the New Catholic Bible by St. Joseph edition, that might have some pictures in it. It looks like the New Catholic Bible. If you look up the New Catholic Bible, it looks like they've got some solid ones. But there's not like a certain translation or whatever that has a commonality with pictures. Thoughts on Nick Catboy? Bro, that's fake. Okay, for those who don't know, like, Nick has talked about this. Nick talked about this, I don't even know how many years back, but it's like, there literally is no, like, like, that's such an old-ass thing, bro. Like, there literally is no drama there. The only drama was he hung out with this guy named Catboy Cammy, who basically got a start on the internet because he would just do a bunch of offensive IRL streams, so he'd, like, you know, dress up in offensive clothing or whatever, and go to a mall and mess with people. He still does them, but they're kind of dumb and retarded. Like, I don't know anyone who's still watching him, to be honest. And that was like almost like a 2 year ago, like 2 or 3 years ago that was that popular. But he like hung out with him once, and then like niggas all over the internet are like, Nick Catboy ? Catboy ? And then like these Wignats tried to run like a gay op with like gay porn in a Discord, and then got embarrassed and outed on Twitter as running a gay op, but then they still tried to commit to the bit and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's like, basically, and I'm not trying to be rude to you, bro, if you're legit asking, but it's like, there's no drama. Nothing happened. It's like, it's basically a bunch of, like, gay Wignats and, like, trannies and A-logs who tried to drum up this false story about, like, Nick being a catboy. And then it's like, even after they got outed and even after they got fucking humiliated, it's like, all these years later, because they hate Nick and they have to hate on a nigga for, you know, repping and stuff like that, they're still like hung up, well, Nick's a catboy, Nick's secretly gay and stuff like that. It's like, you guys are literally like on HRT, like you're literally on hormone replacement therapy. Shut the fuck up, you know what I mean? Oh no, it's cool, bro, and I'm not mad at you. I like you were legit asking. I get it. You're just trying to figure it out. I'm no shade your way. If I came off that way, I that was not my intent. Yeah, it's just something that like niggas bring up a lot, you know, from a like illegitimate standpoint. Like if they ask about it, generally a lot of people will ask about it because they don't actually want to like have any of the beef, you know, or not beef, but any of the false drama clarified. It's like they ask to be disingenuous, and they ask because it's like they've already made up their mind in slandering Nick. They just want to try and make Nick look bad. You know what I mean? So, I'll go to the favorite book outside the faith. Yeah, common smear campaign. Well, I mean, that's what they do to all niggas repping. It's like, you think this guy who has literally got the world on his back, right? Because he sticks up for what we believe in, sticks up for Christ and the culture, you know, stands up against Jewish power and stuff like that. It's like, of course they're going to be out to slander him, right? It's like, he's the one nigga doing all this, bro. He's the one guy doing all this. He's the one white man fighting for our race, right? In a real and effective way. And it's like, of course they're going to take every, you know, possible opportunity to try and slander Nick. Because that's all they do. They're a bunch of losers who live in their basement and can never produce anything, right? That's the thing. Like, it was so profound to listen to Oliver Anthony talk about, what was his name? H3, Ethan Klein, and saying that, like, you used to make stuff and now you criticize. It's like the same thing with these people. It's like, they don't make anything. They don't do anything. Their whole content is making fun of other people and trying to, you know, show where other people take L's. And it's like, all the time, it's not even something that someone actually did. It's like they just make shit up and run gay ops because they've got nothing better to do. If they put as much time into developing their personality and developing themselves spiritually and even developing their content, they'd be in a lot better position. But no, they want to be a bunch of white trailer trash, you know, wiggers who can't do jack shit, right? They can't even pay their, you know, child support, let alone, you know, try and make something. Jackson said, Pinesap, please don't disparage basement dwellers. I don't appreciate these attacks. We're not all the same. That's right, my brother. Not all basement dwellers. Put up white fists in chat. Not all basement dwellers. I stand with my basement dweller niggas. I stand with them, bro. Okay. But anyway. Oh, Jackson also said, the people who promote the Catboy lie literally downloaded and reposted homosexual pornography to try and attack Mr. Fuentes. Yeah, these are the kinds of people we're talking about, right? It's like people who go out of their way to, like, watch gay porn to own Nick. It's like, wow, real smart of you there, big guy. Real winning attitude, you know what I mean? And basements are pretty awesome. But yeah, it's dumb. It's a bunch of gay ops and all that stuff, but I don't really want to talk about that stuff anymore because it's so negative. So my favorite book that doesn't have to do with the faith, that's kind of tough because it's like I almost entirely only read Catholic books. If I was to choose a non-Catholic book, or like maybe kind of related to faith but not explicitly, I like a lot of books on the Spanish Civil War. Yeah, Spanish Civil War books. So like Franco's biography is really good. I love Franco's biography. I love the books about like Codrano. Codrano, he was a, you know, great kind of Christian nationalist figure and stuff like that. So I own his writings and stuff like that. And then like some of the there's a great book called Under the Iron Cross where it's the journals of legionnaires serving in the theater of the Spanish Civil War and stuff like that. That's a solid book. I probably need to, you know, one author, he's Orthodox, but I do like Yvonne Illin. He's a pretty solid writer. I like Joseph Damast. I don't own any Pat Buchanan books, but he's solid. I definitely should probably get some. So it's called Franco, A Personal and Political Biography by Stanley G. Payne. So Stanley G. Payne is who wrote it, and it's probably the best biography on Franco out there. Paul Gottfried writes some really good books, but I don't own any of his books. I've just read like PDFs and stuff like that. He's got probably the best book on getting to an actual definition of fascism out there, because so many people throw that word out, but they're not accurate with what it actually means. Thoughts on Freemasonry? I mean, you know, here's the thing. Here's what I'll say about Masons, okay? Masons, like, aren't really, like, taking up that much of a position in society anymore. Like, there's a lot of, like, yes, they are in cahoots with, like, you know, Jewish power and stuff like that. There's no doubt about that. But, like, I made a Twitter post on this before, and I do stand by it. a lot of Catholics, a lot of my brothers in Christ especially, will use Freemasonry as a way to talk about like Jewish power in a very kosher way, right? Because that's a hard topic to talk about, and it's easier to kind of talk about the Masons, right? When it's like most Masons are like 40-year-old boomers who, you know, participate in like barbecue cookouts and don't really have a lot of pull or power in society anymore like they used to. Like, they used to do a lot of stuff, but I don't think that they have that kind of same pull. And of course, they're associated with the whole power dynamic that we're trying to fight, but it's not like, I don't think that they're quite this global, you know, homogeny that they like once were. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a fallen glory now. You know, now it's just like the ADL and stuff like that. It's like that's basically the new Masons, right? Which actually, I mean, I guess in that way you could say they were a big you know, thing, because they spun off of B'nai B'rith and stuff like that, which was a Jewish Masons lodge. So, you know, but I mean, it's like I take St. Maximilian Kolbe's position on Freemasonry. It's like Masons are servants of the synagogue. So I kind of feel like sometimes when people exclusively talk about Masonry, it's to avoid talking about the synagogue. You know what I mean? Any book suggestions for my Protestant friend or other resources? He's looking for a new church. I'm trying to convince him to become Catholic, but it's hard to convince him of anything. Honestly, dude, best book I recommend is Why We're Catholic by Trent Horn. I think it's a very easy book to read. I think it's very solid. It gives a great overview of the faith, and I think it you know, really sort of underscores, like, I mean, as the title suggests, why we're Catholic. It's not super inaccessible. It's very easy to pick up, and I think it'd be a great introduction to faith for him. And Catholic Answers has some great books, which that's ironically a Catholic Answers book. Which is the company between IHS and Cluny? That company is Mediatrics Press by Ryan Grant. Mediatrics, like Mary the Mediatrix of all graces. So Knox Bible is cool. Yep, the Ronald Knox Bible. To clarify, not the John Knox Bible, but was it John Knox? If I look up the Knox Bible, I know there's a different Knox Bible that's Protestant. I'm trying to remember which one it is. Wasn't it the John Knox Bible? No, I guess there's only one. Yeah, the Knox Bible by Ronald Knox. Yeah, it's a solid translation. Very good modern translation, too. Tan has a very cool missal for kids with some great illustrations. Yeah, I mean, Tan does it all, man. Like, they do good homeschooling stuff. They do good books for kids, adults, teens, like every group, right? I say because the Marian apparitions talk about Freemasonry. Yeah, for sure. Well, and it's not that Freemasonry isn't bad. It completely is. I just don't think, like I said, I just don't think they have the pull that they once did. It's like, if you were talking to me in 1920, I'd be like, yeah, they're a big frickin' deal. But it's like 2023, man, I just don't think they have quite the pull that they do. No doubt, again, it's like they do fight against what we're fighting for, but they're just not as big of a deal as they used to be. You know what I mean? It's not like you have Masons just controlling vestiges of society. It's like we all know who does. You know what I mean? So I gotta go here pretty soon. I'll give it 8 more minutes. I'll go till 5:20, and then I really got to get going. But if you guys have any more questions, please post them in the chat. I'd love to read them, you know, because you guys have been a great audience. I really appreciate it, and you know, I know it's kind of a weird time for streaming, but I thought that this would be just kind of a nice smaller stream to do. You know, not so much big. You know, not so much like this big thing that it needs an entire 2-hour episode, but you know, just kind of a nice stream to chill, you know, get some new content out there. Where do you get my icons? I get them eclectically, man. Honestly, I've been to local churches. That I actually got that beautiful icon. I got from when I attended St. Isidore Catholic Church. That's the chapel run by the Society of St. Pius X. So That's one of my first icons that I got, and I have 2 more over there. Then I had some icons I got from a Byzantine Catholic church. But if you need a good site for icons, it is an Orthodox site, so just make sure that the icon you're buying is a Catholic saint. But Uncut Mountain Press has some really good icons, honestly. Can't go wrong with them. Hey brother, that book you gave me, Way of the Pilgrim, was an incredible read. The Jesus Prayer continues to bring me peace in the hardest times. Good to see you, brother. Good to see you, Surf. Dude, I love that book. I mean, Way of the Pilgrim is a really, really good book. I actually was told by my confessor to read it, and it gives you a great insight into the Jesus Prayer. It also does a good job of, I think, dispelling that the Jesus Prayer and like kind of like hesychasm is like somehow some variant of quietism, because it still emphasizes like active participation and stuff like that, you know, not like disdaining like active prayer and all that. And quietism's a hard heresy to define, so I'm sure I'm not being precise with it, but it's a great book, honestly. It's an amazing book. It really changed my life, and it'll change your lives too if you read it. Oh man. We just out here, bro. We just get in it, you know what I'm saying? Let's see here. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Let's see here. Just curious, what state do you live in? I live in Colorado. I've said that before. I'm okay with saying what state. Because I also have been trying to. I mean, not like doing any IRL events with Groypers, but like, you know, I wanted to see if there were any Groypers who wanted to go to like Mother Cabrini's shrine or whatever. That'd be a really cool thing to squat up. Just hang out, get some lunch or something. You know. What Catholic channels do I watch? I'm trying to think. I don't really watch Catholic YouTube much anymore, to be honest. But like, if I do watch stuff, I think Sensus Fidelium is the most high tier channel I can recommend. Gabby After Hours, you know, he's a great guy. Gabby After Hours, he's awesome. I'm trying to think. Militant Thomist, right? Christian Wagner is amazing. Classical Theist, Eric Ybarra. I'm trying to think of anyone else. Hassan squads up with Militant Thomist, so he's kind of in that vein too. I'm trying to even think of who else. I've been very critical of Michael often, but I still do watch his videos once in a while, because I think that on some things he's still got good takes and stuff like that. It's not that everything he does is bad, but, you know, I'll catch some of his videos sometimes. Catholic Answers, of course, goes without saying. I'm trying to think of who else. Duong is awesome. If you're looking for really good apologetics against Eastern Orthodoxy, Duong is a great man, very faithful Catholic man. I really want to talk to Duong. I don't know where to contact him, but I feel like me and him would be like best friends if we talked. He's a great guy. I appreciate you sharing all these resources, Mr. Sapp. Yeah, absolutely, bro. Basically, Colin, with Lofton basically has just become kind of obsessed with the mad trad thing, and it's gotten to the point where he's like calling people mad trads that don't deserve that title. I mean, like, there's a guy that I read named Dr. I'm trying to think of his name right now. Shubcassers Relatio. Ron Conti, Dr. Ron Conti. Dr. Ron Conti can be a little harsh sometimes, but like honestly, like even Dr. Ron Conti does not think that like Edward Fazer is a schismatic or anything like that, and has like defended like him not being one. But like, I mean, Michael is like off the rails. Like he's just calling everyone a schismatic. He's like not cool to Bishop Strickland anymore. He's like super uncharitable towards him. And just, he's become such a meme at this point. It's like the whole charity and nuance thing has become like this basically like triumph of midwits just saying like something, or where it's like they'll never tell you the nuance. They'll never hyper qualify stuff. They just talk about the act of doing it, right? It's like, well, let's nuance this. Okay, let's nuance it already. Talk about the nuance. Get into it. Don't tout me with just the same word over and over and over again. Get into it. That's what I do, right? It's like, don't sit there and talk about nuance. Get into the nuance, okay? Like, it's almost like his whole channel has turned into having a conversation about the conversation. It's like, just demonstrate. Like, it's annoying, dude. And, you know, I used to defend him a lot because he does do good stuff. I'm not saying that every single thing he does is bad, but it's like he's just gotten to the point where it's like he just counter signals everybody. And I mean, when he started going off on like Dr. Edward Phaser and stuff like that, I couldn't get behind it. Dr. Phaser is a great man, and I think he's just kind of gone off the reservation at this point. Michael has, you know. But I mean, again, he does some good stuff. It's not that everything he does is bad, but I think he needs to really get his priorities in order. Ooh, he's got a beat. He's got a beat to it. Nice. Let's go. You should debate Kyle. Dude, I've contacted Kyle multiple times. I've said, Kyle, let's debate. And he turns me down every single time, man. I've repeatedly said to Kyle, dude, I will debate you on Eastern Orthodoxy. Let's make it happen. And he all he says to me is debate Ubi. Well, I'm not at Ubi's level yet. I think I can be one day. I mean, I'd love to develop into getting, you know, and the reason I say I'm not at his level is like he's been doing this a lot longer than I have, and it's like also like 3 guys, so you know, it's like I got a lot more work I got to do before I can build up to that. But it's like Kyle's about at my level and should be able to hold a debate with me, but it's like, I don't know, he doesn't want to debate, and I've asked him multiple times, right? Because the other thing is, too, I'm not trying to be uncharitable to Kyle, but it's like he doesn't change the points he makes against Catholicism that I answered on that long stream that I did about his video on why he apostatized, right? Like a long time ago. And it's like, I answered the stuff about like Vatican II and all that, and it's like he kind of just has the same thing over and over and over every single video, like the same point, you know, like he'll bring up the Pope St. Gregory the Great quote about the universal bishop and stuff like that over and over, even though there's been like good sufficient answers already given to that, and I even gave one, right? And it's like, you know, I'm just kind of like, okay, man, like, you know, we gotta move the buck here, right? So if he's open to debating, I'd love to debate him, right? And it would be charitable too. I think Kyle's a great guy. Like I don't think Kyle's a bad dude, and I really do hope that he returns to the faith. And if you guys could pray for Kyle, I would really appreciate that. So, Forgive My Laughter said, you wait an hour for him to unpack his argument, and he never does. Feeling the beat. Yeah, that is Michael though. Like he takes like an hour to actually just say the thing, and the thing that he says that's like worth listening to is like 5 minutes, and I'm like, bro, like you're killing me, dude. You're honestly killing me right now. This is just goofy, you know? Do I lift? Yeah, I lift. I gotta start going back to the gym though, because I just moved into my new place and the gym's nearby, so I definitely gotta start going back there. I haven't really been doing as much exercise as I should the past few days, but I'm gonna get back into it. Mike said, "Love you, buddy." Yeah, love you, buddy. I'm praying for you. What you're going through is undeserved. So I'm praying for you, buddy. It ruined my day, honestly, to hear that. So good stuff, man. Well, I think we're about at the mark here that I got to get going. Sorry, guys, but I got to be somewhere at 6. Thanks, everybody, for joining me. Lifting souls. Let's go, dude. Thanks, everyone, for joining today. This was super fun. And, you know, for those of you who couldn't watch, I hope you can catch the replay and stuff like that. It was a pretty fun video and stuff like that. And yeah, they do have Catholic schools in Colorado. The Catholic schools here are actually really good because our bishop is really good. Archbishop Samuel Aquila is probably one of the best bishops in the world right now. And he is a very faithful Orthodox prelate. And his school, like the schools that he's supported and stuff like that are great. So, you know, solid stuff, man. But anyway, guys,